All right, we all set?
I'm all set.
Okay. Thanks, Barb, in the background. Well, welcome everyone to this webinar with FCIS Insurance. Good morning to our folks on the Pacific Coast, and good afternoon to everybody here in the eastern half of the world. So I'm Christy Yanyan. I'm the Marketing and Communications Manager for Airstream Club. And we've been working to bring some of your member benefits to life in a new way, something that can reach our members in ways throughout the year that maybe you're not otherwise intersecting with just by going out on our website to find on your own. So this is a way that we're attempting to do that. And we're very fortunate that FCIS grabbed this opportunity at first chance when we introduced it to, we've got Jackie on this call today, helping with chat box questions, and as a guru with two sides of a brain, I think it's an amazing mix. She's got a marketing hat and an insurance hat at all times. So
it's hard to find somebody with both
right?
sets.
And then today on screen, we have Courtney. Courtney is the president of FCIS, and hopefully we'll be doing most of the talking today. So Courtney, I just wanted to start out this, we have an hour to spend with you today. I just wanted to start out with an introduction for everyone to meet you and tell a little bit about FCIS Insurance.
Yeah, you bet, Christy. Thanks for having me. And thanks, Barb and Jackie in the background, making sure we get everybody's question answered. That's an important piece to this. I love doing these webinars and these video chats because it gives members of clubs an opportunity to kind of look behind the curtain and to ask questions and to understand what this crazy world of RV insurance is. But as Christy mentioned, my name is Courtney. I am the second generation owner of FCIS Insurance, and I guess my current role is the president, which really means that I get the coffee and sweep the floors and make sure people are paid around here. We've got 30 agents here that work across 2 locations. We are headquartered here in Forest City, Iowa, so 1 Central Standard Time. And we've also got an office out in Pittman, New Jersey. So for our East Coast friends out there. But with those 2 office locations, that's really our staffing footprint. We do work and license in every state in the United States except for 1. And that state is Hawaii, is the only state we're not licensed in. Because if you've ever been to Hawaii, I didn't see many RVs there. Usually you fly in there and you're on island time. But from there, I've been a second generation owner and president here for the last 12 years. And most of what we do is specializing in RV insurance, although we are a multi-line personal line shop as well as commercial. So there are a lot of RV owners that also have businesses and such that we service. And our history, we started as an independent agency in 1978. And it was in 1981 where the founder of Winnebago came to my father and was talking to him about issues that RV owners were having in their insurance, trying to place insurance on their trailers, their motorhomes, on all their self-contained units. So my father took it upon himself to create what is now known as the first total loss replacement RV insurance policy. And we can get into the semantics of the policy makeup of what makes a specialized RV policy different than a normal auto or trailer policy. But the biggest one is really where we got our teeth cut and our wings was that total loss replacement coverage.
Okay, all right. So I'm curious, a little bit specific to our club and the Airstream brand itself. You were sharing with me a little bit of history stemming from your father. If you could just tell that little tie-in, because I think people will really enjoy hearing the backstory.
Absolutely. Everybody knows Airstreams, right? And that's my father knew Airstreams growing up. The recognizable trailer is unmistakable. So what happened was when the founder of Winnebago came to my father, we got the product up and running. My father saw that clubs really was the way to educate RV owners. So one of the clubs that my father identified in the marketplace was the Airstream Club, because everybody knew the silver bullets and the needs. So he at that time went to the Airstream Club and said, "Hey, look, I'm getting a program together. Would you come down to Louisville, Kentucky?" Which back in the day was where the site of the annual RVIA Association trade shows, where all the manufacturers and dealer partners will all converge on Louisville the week after Thanksgiving and talk about the industry. So he invited the Airstream Club, person at that time, whoever was leading it, to explain to them how their members and the owners of Airstreams were able to understand and have a better insurance policy. And the trade-off was, look, we want to tell your members and educate them. And in return, Airstream was like, great, we have, back in the early 80s, there was only one way to connect with people, and that was physically go to an event and go to a rally. There was no Zooms, there was no webinars, there was no anything. So my dad committed to any club that he wanted to educate to, that he would bring his team of agents and go to their rallies. So that's what he did. The Airstream leader at that time said, wherever our Airstream rally is, why don't you come and do a seminar? And my father's like, look, there's one caveat that I've seen that people really enjoy, and that is ice cream. So may I serve your members ice cream while I'm talking about this RV insurance world? And they went
They will line up.
That's right. And everybody lined up, and while they're eating their ice cream, they're learning about what makes specialized coverage of RV insurance possible.
Yeah, and I just love that story because it's an old one, and we're actually still carrying that tradition on today.
Mm-hmm.
So for the 2,500 or so of us that are coming out to Wyoming this summer, the date for that FCIS sponsored ice cream social is Tuesday, June 27th. It's from 6 to 8 p.m. So
Yep.
We'll carry on with some of the insurance questions, but Courtney, in your introduction, you were talking about our specialized RV insurance, a little different than, if you're relying on your auto policy or your homeowner's policy. So could you just people have more specific questions to their models or makes or years, but just broad brush, tell us, the fine-tuned detail between your specialized product through RV Advantage versus calling a specific carrier.
Yep, easy peasy. So I'll tailor it a little bit because most of Airstreams are trailers, although there still are some Airstream motorhomes floating around out there.
And vans.
And vans, correct, yes. So as I mentioned before, the biggest thing with a specialized RV insurance product is that settlement option. And total loss replacement really locks in that replacement value, much like a homeowner's replacement value would play into. And that really is good for the first 5 model years. And that came into play because of the issue when we started becoming a specialist of when people would buy these motorhomes and RVs, unfortunately, they would depreciate a little faster than if they had a loan on it, depreciate faster than their principal they owed to the bank. So when they would have an insurance loss or even a total loss, they would essentially be upside down, and it would be a horrible experience for the owner. Not only did they have an accident, something happened, they don't get to RV anymore, and now they owe money to the bank. So this product was developed to protect that depreciation, and that is only eligible units that are, you have to be the original owner, and it has to be a brand new unit within the first model year. So that still fits kind of a narrow gap. So for people buying new Airstreams, it absolutely behooves you, if you learn anything from this, please put total loss replacement when you buy anything, a new RV, on your policy. because that protects the first 5 model years, and then years 6 through 10 is purchase price guarantee. Because you just bought it, you have a bill of sale, that can get locked in years 6 through 10. So if you have a total loss in your first 5 years, the insurance company will give you a brand new one, like, make, and model. As we know, Airstream's the same way. Sometimes things change over time, right? They're still making the same, 25, 26-foot trailer, but some of the floor plans may change over time. So it's the insurance company's job and the customer to decide what the like, make, and model is.
Yeah. So you touched on a key word, and that's depreciation. So, a lot of us, we love our Airstreams because they hold their value. And we understand that as owners that have selected this iconic and long-standing brand for, the appreciation of the value that they hold. So now you go to your carrier and you try to explain that to them. This is either the work I've done on this old model or the value that I believe it's retained. How do you, as FCIS, help tread through the muck? Because it seems like, you might give a VIN number and get a number that's not necessarily what the owner would say it's worth.
Very good segue. So this is what makes Airstreams, to your point, very, very unique. Depreciation isn't as much of a word in the Airstream crew than it is in the RV industry as a whole. So congratulations. The Airstreams don't depreciate as fast as others. And so to your point, what about those folks that remodel them or fix them up and make them into something great or add things onto it? Well, the second biggest piece of a specialized RV insurance policy, if you're not eligible for total loss replacement, you can put an agreed value or stated value, much like a classic car, on your RV policy. And that can come into play a few different ways, right? If you had just purchased that from a dealership and it's used, that value can be locked in and agreed upon if you have a loss. The second way you can do it, I know a lot of members will buy it private party, right? They'll go on RV Trader and they'll find something, and to what you just said, they'll put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it, remodeling it and making it into something very modern. Well, now they've put a lot of money into it. What you do there is you have it appraised, and we have a very strong appraisal network. There's a gentleman by the name of Jim Polk that does a very good job across the United States to appraise your Airstream. And we can take those appraisals and lock in that value with the insurance carrier.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah.
So there's one kind of question about what you provide. Do you have to be a member of our club or any RV club for that matter to qualify for insurance through FCIS? So
that's another great question, and when we started this program back in the early 80s, or my father started this program back in the early 80s, he advocated to the insurance carriers that people that join RV clubs, they have been proven to have less losses, insurance losses. And I'll give you the reason why. Because a club member that actually, pays some money to join a club, they get educated, right? They get a magazine, they read through it, they see, the proper way to tow a trailer, they see the proper way to back things in. The club member, it's been proven in the data with insurance carriers that they have lower losses because they're just more engaged in their what they've purchased. So my father has advocated, and we advocate still, that those people ought to be afforded a discount. So if you're an RV club member, if you own an Airstream, you're a member of the Airstream Club. 3 out of our 5 carriers, Jackie would know the exact answer, and it's changing every year. We always try to advocate, but 3 out of our 5 carriers offer a discount, a pretty nice one, upwards of 5%, just for being that club member, which financially then it offsets. Sometimes the savings on your insurance will offset the fee to be in the club, right? And you get all of the other benefits that a club member can receive. So what ends up happening is, we advocate for that discount, and the club member receives it and they feel good about it. But to your point, they don't have to be a club member to get proper specialized RV insurance. We just advocate very heavily for it, and we back it up with some numbers on a discount.
Now, you mentioned 3 out of the 5 carriers. Do you have a list right off the top of your head here that
We do.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have 5 nationally known RV insurance carriers that we're contracted with that, are licensed in all the states, and we will take a Airstream Club member and look at all of the options to present it to them. So Nationwide Insurance, Progressive Insurance, Safeco Insurance, Foremost Insurance, and National General, which was just purchased by Allstate.
Okay, thank you.
So, yep.
Yeah.
And those are constantly being evaluated every year. We've had as high as 6 before, but as some consumers know, there are some insurance carriers that don't like to play nice, and that's part of our job, is to evaluate the carriers to make sure their claims experience is high enough and they're A-rated, and that we're not going to place somebody that doesn't have the right wherewithal to take care of RV owners.
Yeah, I'm thinking of a story. It's a testimonial really to you guys. It was a follow-up off of a lead sheet from one of the ice cream socials, like a rally. And the member had said, I just called him up and said, can you take a look at my coverage, my current policy? Let me know if it's as good as I can do. And you guys got back to them and said, yep, just stick where you're at. We've evaluated it. We would say you are good where you're at, and carry on down the road. And I just think that's earnest business and a really good testimonial to what you guys do.
Yeah, we're not a boiler room, sales shop. Our philosophy, the reason why Jackie is in the role she is, because we believe more in marketing and education. We want to shout from the mountaintops that we want to explain to you all about what you're getting, and we're not going to try and hard sell you. If you're in the right spot, we're not going anywhere. We've been here for 45 years. If you find yourself in a tricky spot in the future, just give us a call.
Yeah, so I'll try to keep these next questions somewhat sorted, but we've got quite a few coming in surrounding the same topic of personal effects. So people are traveling with some high dollar items, it's kayaks or camera equipment, et cetera, et cetera. We all travel in our various ways, but the stuff you bring with you in your Airstream. So can you talk a little bit about that, how coverage relates to and covers those kind of things?
Yeah, you bet. Another part of a specialized RV policy is personal effects, right? If you just, get a standard policy, they may not understand all of the things that are in your trailer. So I like to take the effect of, if you picked your Airstream up, opened up the windows, put it on its side and shook it, what's going to fall out? Well, if you're in your car, right, there may be some chapsticks, some loose chains, etc. But you just mentioned it. You're in your Airstream, you have some camera equipment, you have laptops, e-bikes are becoming very popular, right? The e-bikes are getting expensive, pots and pans, you live in these things. So we can offer up to $99,000 worth of personal effects on an RV insurance policy. And that's not offered on a standard trailer or a standard auto policy.
All right.
So, and those are in $1,000 increments. And, it would behoove, people always ask, well, what value do I put on these things? Well, that's up to you to create a list and then back it up with either receipts or a declaration of value. In the event you have a claim, you have that on there. Okay.
Then I have a couple people talking about the amount of time that they're on the road. So when did they look at full-timer coverage versus is there a day minimum to establish? Go ahead.
And that's another important reason to talk to somebody that knows RVing, because there are 4 different rating categories when it comes to an insurance policy specific to RVs. The first one, and this is part of the quoting process, we always ask on our quote sheets or when we're talking to you, your usage factor, right? This is what your members are asking here online, is what difference, is there full-time coverage? What if I don't use it very often? The first one is 0 to 30 days, right? Or nights. So I call that the weekend warrior, right? If you're only sleeping in your trailer or motorhome less than 30 nights, that's the first rating factor. The second one is your seasonal user, your 30 to 150 days is the second rating factor. And then the third and fourth category relate to full timers. So anything over 150 nights that you sleep in your RV, you are considered by the insurance companies a full timer, which gives you extra coverages. Now, two types of full timers. There are full timers that are truly a 365er. They do not have any other sticks and bricks. They do not rent an apartment. They do not have another house. But there's also a full timer that's over 150 days, but they still have that house in Iowa, and they just want to escape the cold, and they go south for 5 months, but they still come back to their resident in the north. So, and that matters because the reason you buy insurance is to have coverage in the event of a claim. So customers and partners always ask me, well, how do people know how often I'm sleeping in my trailer? Well, number one, they don't. It's not Big Brother watching you and seeing what you're doing. But how it comes about is at time of claim, we're going to turn in a claim on your behalf, and the adjuster is going to ask you a series of questions. And one of the things they're going to ask you is, how often did you use this RV in the last year? And most people that own these units are going to be excited and saying, I went to Wyoming, I went to the international rally, I went here, I went there. And they're going to estimate your usage. And if your usage is off based on your insurance policy, that could be a reason to deny or reduce the claim. Mm-hmm. So my oath to the members is, you want to estimate to the best of your knowledge how often you're going to use that, so we get the right rating variable in the event of a claim. Mm-hmm. So most people are truthful in this world, but once in a while we get somebody that tries to game the system, and you want to just be truthful, so that way when you have a claim, there's no issues.
Okay. And then, again, a benefit to working with an RV insurance specialist versus just your auto carrier is mm-hmm. the understanding of that loss of use over time.
That's exactly right. So I always tell people, or they always ask, right, why would I go with you versus my buddy I golf with down the street? And I tell them, your average agent may be due 3 or 4 RVs a year, right? Where we do 300 or 400 per month. So that's what we live and breathe. We know the questions to ask. We know the usage. We know what a slide out is. We know the difference between a dual axle trailer and a single axle trailer. We know how many AC units. We just know the market, and we know to insure it correctly. And we back it up with our own claims manager as well. So when you have that unfortunate situation, that you have an advocate to be able to protect that policy you bought, so you don't get the runaround when it comes to filing a claim.
Yeah, and that's sort of the answer to that's your RV Advantage branding versus FCIS broad base.
That's exactly right. I did find, so we started this, what we call our RV Advantage program, which is exactly what you said. It's having our own in-house claims manager. It's having the knowledge of being an RV insurance specialist. I found our company name is FCIS Insurance, but people in the marketplace had a hard time associating FCIS with RVs. So with my marketing hat on, right, we've got a lot of marketing folks here in this call, right? I decided, look, it's probably better to create a brand called RV Advantage. And that's where the RV Advantage name comes from. It's really the all-encompassing product and processes that we help the RV community out with. Okay.
So this is stemming from things that you travel with, but so if you can go into upgrades, how are they covered on insurance? So this member has $30,000 in upgrades, like we're talking lithium batteries, solar panels, that sort of thing. So you were mentioning that well, I'll let you speak. You're the expert.
Yeah, so that's, speaking of solar, everybody's putting solar kits on and putting quite a bit of money on top of the manufacturer's piece that they put on it. So that's really, tell us what you're putting on there. We'll talk to our underwriters about that. And if it's excessive, a lot of value you put on there, it's important to lock that in And we can do that all day, every day. So there's no exact science to, well, you're going to pay an extra $50 in premium for every $30,000 you put on there. It's really, let's have a conversation about that, and let's get that to underwriting with pictures and declaration of value to make sure we protect that. Extremely, extremely important. If you don't mention that, then at time of claim, right, if the manufacturer didn't have a lithium package on, you're going to have to go through quite a bit of proving to get any of that covered. And if you didn't pay any premium for it, there's a high likelihood that it won't be covered. So I know that's kind of a vague answer, but with my insurance hat on, it really depends, and it's worth having a conversation on.
Well, and I think it speaks to that TLC that you all are willing to take the time to provide, because it's more than just getting a quote offline. It's that follow-up call about receipts and, the photos and the back and forth to get to that value that you're.
Absolutely. Right. And that's one of the reasons why our insurance carrier partners, don't give us a lot of runaround when it comes to submitting RV insurance risks, because we already require our customers on the front end to get an appraisal if they've remodeled it, right? We collect that before we even submit that to underwriting. We have that conversation and say, what kind of solar package did you put on? Who did it? What receipts do you have? Let's get all that cut and dried. And then it's just a matter of going to our carrier partners to get you the best rate is all that matters, and make sure you understand what the claims experience is going to be like.
This isn't a good one, but it applies to a lot of people. My current insurance is bundled in with my home and auto policy. What happens if I unbundle it?
Yeah, so that's a question for your current agent. If you unbundle it, do you have a bundling discount on your current insurance policy on your RV? Right, so that would be, I recommend asking that first question. But I would also suggest, if you want to give us an opportunity, we're a full suite of personal lines products. So we can look at your whole package of home and auto and motorcycle, e-bikes, whatever personal lines products you have in your personal, area. We'd be happy to look at all of that. Again, we're licensed in every state. We have options depending on the state. It's getting a little tougher on the coastal areas with property. As we all know, with Florida, there tends to be some wind down there in the fall and flooding. So some of our zip codes around the coast from a property standpoint are becoming extremely challenging. So we're not the end all be all, but we do take, and if that's important to somebody, we would love to take a look at the whole package as well. So, but that is a risk, and we understand that. But sometimes if we can save you $400 and you're only getting a $20 discount, well, you tell us which is better.
Here's another good one from Matt. He asks, does your coverage include on the road, stored in the garage, or parked at the campsite?
Does it include on the road? Yes. So here's what I'll tell you if you have a trailer. So while it's being towed, the liability section of that trailer follows the powered vehicle. So I'll give you an example. While you're driving down the road and you get into an accident with your truck and trailer hooked up, the liability section will follow on your truck policy. Okay. Your RV policy then covers any physical damage to the actual trailer. All right. Versus when you're camping, that becomes your home. So then your RV policy as a whole covers you while you're off the road and you're unhooked from your truck because there's no power behind it. Which is another important coverage note I want to make is a specialized RV insurance product will have what I call vacation or campsite liability. That is much like a homeowner's liability in and around your campsite, right? If you just buy a standard trailer policy or a standard auto policy, not a lot of people sleep in their car, right? So a specialized RV insurance policy has that coverage when you're camped to cover the liability around your campsite. And that really covers if somebody comes onto your property, onto your site, and has an incident that's blaming you for it, right? Maybe your awning's out and you happen to walk the campfire back to their place, and they hit their head on the awning, and they're blaming you because your awning was in the wrong spot, right? We all know what frivolous lawsuits can happen. There's a need to have that campsite or vacation liability on your policy. So to answer that guy's question, I know that was kind of a geeky version of getting into policy details, but on the road, off the road, while you're camping, those answers are yes. On the road, your liability is just covered from the powered, wherever the power is coming from. If you're in a motorhome or a van, your power is coming from that van, everything's covered by your RV policy.
What are Fridays for if we're not going to geek out about insurance, right?
That's exactly right. Yes.
Okay, so we have a lot of vintage lovers for good reason in our club. Monique asks, she's asking specifically about her 1958 model and whether your policies cover, but generally speaking, do you have any talking points about covering vintage models?
I do. So congratulations. A 1958 is definitely a vintage. That was way before I was born. So congratulations. We can, the talking point is it has to be remodeled, right? We're not going to insure anything that's in an unremodeled state. If it's got flat tires and, you know, the roof is in disrepair, and if you just purchased it and plan on remodeling it, then there's not going to be any coverage, right? And there's really no value there if you you know, didn't pay a lot for it, but you're planning on putting a lot of money into it. We would come in when it's been remodeled, ask you to get an appraisal. Again, shout out to Jim Polk. Get an appraisal on it when it's fully remodeled, so everything is locked in.
Okay.
And then you have something truly vintage where you can tell people, look, this is a 1958, and it, you know, we all know Airstreams, they all have the same nostalgic look. People would probably not even know that it's that old once you remodel it.
Can you explain vanishing deductible coverage, Bill asks?
Yes. So Bill, vanishing deductible is for every year you go claim free, your deductible vanishes at typically a rate of 20% per year is pretty typical. So if you have a $1,000 deductible on it, for example, at the end of year one of your policy, your deductible would then go down to $800, then $600, then $400, then $200. After year 5, you keep on the policy. If you have a loss, you got it. Your deductible is fully vanished.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
So if one would have a claim, Scott asks, would we contact FCIS then, or would we call directly to the carrier?
Yep. Great question, Scott. Scott, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So you can call either. So our office is only open 8 to 5 on Monday through Friday and 8:30 to 3 on Saturday. So we're not open 24/7. So you can always call us and file the claim and do that. But you can also, when you get your policy, there's an 800 number to call directly to the carrier. Excuse me, and they're open 24/7. So if you notify the carrier, we also get notified when that claim opens. So it's really personal choice, and depending on time of day and you know, what day it is when you want to call, because we're not open 24/7.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yep.
Let's see. So how about personal effects? Do personal effects include items in the tow vehicle?
The personal effects, no. The personal effects in your tow vehicle, like your truck that's pulling your trailer, no, that does not included in your personal effects. Right. So here's what I would recommend. If you've got something in your tow vehicle that you want covered under personal effects of your RV policy, guess what? Put it in your RV.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there is some flexibility. I think I'm reading the tea leaves here. There is some flexibility on moving your personal items out of your RV within reason. So if your camera equipment that you have insured with your RV policy is just simply put in your tow vehicle for traveling, then yes, there is some lenience there with adjusters. If you just explain that to them, that we wanted to put it in our truck because we stop and take pictures and we don't want to have to go in our trailer all the time. But the rule is things that are normally in your RV.
Okay.
So,
So we
and I
have
want to go back, Christy, if I can, just go back to that vintage piece. It's extremely important while you're redoing your vintage RV to make sure you have all your receipts. Receipts. And the appraiser is going to want to see all those receipts as well. So that's just something that I wanted to make mention.
Yes, thank you. We do have several vintage related questions.
Mhm.
So you had touched on e-bikes, and there's a couple questions about e-bikes, and being that they're just coming up in popularity so fast, you're probably kind of learning this as we all go, but like catch us up to what you've discovered, what you're still seeking, because people, these are big values. So what's your recommendation on them? What have you found out?
Yeah, so we've gotten ahead of the curve on this. We actually have an e-bike policy you can purchase, because as a lot of people know, these things are going like 12, 15, 20, 28 miles an hour in some cases. So there's a lot of campgrounds and a lot of areas now that are requiring liability, just like you would for a golf cart. So if you're taking your e-bike on any, public sidewalk, public area, which most people do, right? They go ride it around, and you've got, it's got a little motor in it, like most e-bikes do, then we can sell you its own e-bike policy. Whereas the past, even 4 or 5 years ago, we were just adding those to personal effects, and your liability would maybe be coming then from a homeowner's policy if you have one, because there is some extension from a homeowner's policy. But for that full-time community, for sure, we're going to recommend that they get their own e-bike policy. So you make sure and have liability on it. A lot of people think, are more worried about the physical damage, right? I paid $3,000 for this thing. What if somebody steals it? And that is a concern. But as an insurance agent, I would tell you should be more concerned about the liability. What if you hit somebody going 20 miles an hour? That's going to be much more of a loss than just your physical damage. So it's important that they understand now you can buy your own e-bike policy, much like a golf cart policy.
Okay. All right. Here's a unique one from Chris. So he's an Airstream van owner, and it's registered in his company name. He's asking, is there anything for him to be mindful of? It's registered in the company name, yet only used by owner and spouse.
Yep. So that's because we're an RV insurance specialist. We know that market. And if you're only using it personally, we can put the policy in your personal name, and then we add the company as an additional insured because that has title to the RV. So it's very popular amongst the folks that get an LLC out of Montana, that they will get a Montana LLC to register and to title their RV, but they're still only going to use it personally. And what the insurance carriers care about is how is it going to be used? And the question will still need to be asked, and the owner will still have to sign off on it, that we're still going to ask, do you plan on using this for business purposes? And if you answer no, then yeah, we can put that in a personal policy. But keep in mind that at time of loss, if all of a sudden you've wrapped that RV in your company name and you're advertising that RV is used as business use, then that could be reason to have issue with claims as well. So if you're truly only using it for personal use, yeah, we put the policy in your personal name, and the company name gets listed as an additional interest because that's the owner of the RV.
Thank you.
Yep.
So Randy asks, he rents his trailer on the weekends through Outdoorsy and such, probably Airbnb. Is there special insurance needed, and could your policy be upgraded to cover such?
Great question. I do the same thing. I'm an RV owner. I have a motorhome and a travel trailer. So I have both of them, and we rent out both of them. We use it personally, and we also use RV Share and Outdoorsy. So our insurance carriers now are allowing that. If you primarily use it for personal use, it is allowed to be rented out on a secondary basis, not primary. If you're only purchasing an RV for rental income, then we need to put some business use on it. But if it is your personal RV and you are just renting it out secondarily from time to time to offset the cost of ownership, then what happens is it has to be an approved platform. What I mean by that, RV Share and Outdoorsy are both approved platforms, because when a renter gets the keys to the RV, RV Share and Outdoorsy's insurance takes over. So then your personal insurance shuts off and the platform's insurance turn on. So if there's a loss when it's being rented out, that would not be a claim against your personal policy. So the bottom line is we've advocated for this very heavily and now have options with most of our carriers to be able to do that.
Interesting. Okay.
Yep.
We might have circled the water on this one already, but I don't know. I think it's worth rehashing. So if someone has comprehensive and collision coverages for actual cash value, this is like a terminology quiz. How is it different from total loss replacement coverage?
Great question. So that gets back to our initial why we're an RV insurance specialist, those settlement options. So you just said the term for the third settlement option on an RV insurance policy. The first being total loss replacement, the second being that agreed value, and the third is actual cash value. And actual cash value is typically what is standard on your auto policies. So that just means that at time of loss, that is the value, that's what your claim payout is going to be. So it does not lock in any prior value of replacement or agreed. So the difference is, if I can give an example, if I own a 4-year-old Airstream and I purchased it new, I'm still in a total loss replacement coverage period. And I paid $100,000 for that Airstream, okay, 4 years ago. It was brand new. I still have my policy. Maybe it's only worth $70,000 today, right? We just talked about they don't depreciate as fast as others. So other manufacturers may be less, but say it's only worth 70 today. If you had a total loss replacement policy, the carrier was going to buy you at this year's 2024 model, and maybe that's going to cost $125,000, right? You're going to get a new one. If you only had actual cash value, you're only going to get a settlement of what it's worth at time of loss, which in my example is $70,000. So that's a big gap between 70,000 and 125, right? So the settlement option is extremely important at time of loss. So that's the difference. And your Main Street or your normal agents or your normal policy only has actual cash value.
Great answer. Thank you for going into depth. I'm glad I asked.
Yeah, and to further that, what also happens is people are obviously very concerned about how much premium they're paying. That's where a lot of agents, carriers, online options can reduce your premium, is by saying this is a policy and they don't tell you it's actual cash value until you read the fine print. So that's why we're happy to review any policy and just to give you the knowledge of, hey, this is what you have currently. This is what you're paying premium for. If you'd like us to quote different options, we certainly can. Here are the steps to do that.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
You bet.
Okay, so this member, her issue is that she's had a slow water leak and floor and subfloor damage. Would something like this be covered via a claim?
Yeah, so it's difficult to talk about hypotheticals with all the details, but I would say in general, claims adjusters look for maintenance records, right? If you've maintained your trailer or your motorhome in accordance with the what's that big book you get when you buy an RV? Not the handbook, that's an employee thing. What's that called?
Manual.
The owner's manual. Thank you.
Yeah.
If you have maintained your RV in accordance with the manual, then by and large, if it was a sudden and incidental loss, there was a storm that came through that you could point to that got water underneath, then yeah, you have a high likelihood that there's coverage. However, if it's determined by the adjuster that it hasn't been properly maintained somehow, it sat in a grove or in a shed for 3 years with nobody touching it, then yeah, that could be deemed not to be properly maintained. Okay, I'll give you the example of a roof, right? You should inspect your roof every 6 months to a year to make sure all the seals are properly maintained, right? If your roof tends to have issues and water can get in there, if it hasn't been maintained, well, your insurance policy isn't designed to be a maintenance policy. It's designed to have a sudden and incidental incident that causes a loss.
Thank you for that.
You bet.
So we got a lot of questions, and Jackie actually answered them in the chat box, but I think it's worth saying for posterity's sake for the recording. How do people request a quote? Where do they go to find, the Airstream site? Do you recommend calling, filling out a form online?
Yeah, so just like what we discussed before, just like how do you get a hold of us? There's many different ways. It's all what how the customer wants to interact with us. So Christy, all of those options are open. We do have a website that you can go to, rvadvantage.com, right? You can put in your information there, and then one of our highly trained agents will get a hold of you. You can always pick up the phone and call us, 1-800-331-1520. You can go to an Airstream event and you can eat some great ice cream and fill out a form that we can provide with a pen, and we'll take that back to the office and get a hold of you from there. We still have a fax machine, right? That's advertised on our website as well. If you want to send us your deck pages and fax us, what you have for your current policy, or just write us a note that says, hey, we love you guys, please call me and send us a fax. We're happy to do that. What other mechanism? We have email that's listed on our website, info@fcisinsurance.com. What else? I've even taken some smoke signals before where I see off in the distance, it's like, oh, that person needs RV insurance. I'll come over and see what you need.
Yeah, and the nice thing is, so another way you guys are including a banner on the bottom of our digital Blue Beret magazine.
Yes.
So that's that link to our specialized Airstream member page. And it's just a very simple form to fill out, but it's just hey, you're going to get a call back from us. And hopefully this webinar has done a good job of expressing all the very deep knowledge that you guys as RV insurance specialists have, just to have a really sound conversation and then introduce you to some potential carriers.
Yeah, for sure. And thanks, Christy. You guys are a strong partner of ours and provide those links on your guys' digital assets and your physical assets. If you get the Blue Beret magazine, I think we're on the back or the inside back or somewhere, and our phone number and website and everything is listed on there. But yes, on your website, you can link directly to us, and we'd be happy. We're here 8 to 5 during the week, and then on 8:30 to 3 on the weekend.
Well, thanks for all the time you spent answering questions. I do want to announce again, this is rally specific, but it's a special year because we're able to carry on that tradition to have staff from FCIS coming out. So that's an investment on you guys' behalf that we really appreciate, to come one-on-one with our members. So on Thursday, June 29th, Jake Brunchin from your staff will be speaking again for a 1-hour time increment. And that's Thursday, the 29th at 11:45. And then one more time on that ice cream social. One of the very first questions we got was what the ice cream flavor is, which is so funny. I can't tell you. It's a secret.
It's a secret.
We have, here's the scoop. Some of you have tried Here's the Scoop ice cream before. It's delicious. And they are creating a special flavor just for the FCIS ice cream social. So come, with your questions ready. I'm sure Jake and the team will be more than willing to
Yep.
spend some time with you one-on-one after or before the presentation. And you guys also have a booth this year. So thank you so much for your involvement in our largest Airstream rally of the year.
Absolutely. And that's out in Rock Springs, right?
Yes, Rock Springs,
Yep.
Wyoming, June 24th through the 29th, and
Yep.
ice cream on Tuesday night.
Fantastic. Well, I know Jackie's going to be there as well. And yeah, we'll have a team there, and I hope there's a lot of people that come with their silver bullets and ask all kinds of good questions. We'll take them all.
Great. Well, thank you all so much. As a reminder, this session is recorded and we'll have it up on our YouTube channel so that you all can refer back to it and share with your friends. Everybody
Awesome.
have a great weekend. And Courtney, Jackie, thank you guys so much for your time this afternoon.
You bet. Thanks, everybody. We'll see ya, Christy.